Hey everyone, Arcologies here. I wanted to do a quick tutorial on how to install and run E-MU's Emulator X3 software on an Apple Silicon Mac. Now, E-MU's Emulator X3 software is a software sampler that came out in the early 2000s. It's no longer supported, it's no longer released, there's no updates for it. It's all but abandoned. But for anyone who knows about E-MU, you know about their hardware samplers. The software sampler, the X3 sampler, is a great software sampler, and it has a lot of cool stuff and sounds great. And it's fun to use, and it's pretty easy to do as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to install a few things here, and then we'll be up and running. We've got Homebrew, this Homebrew page here, brew.sh, that's the URL. What you want to do is you either want to download and install the package, or you can copy and paste this command into terminal. I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it again. But after you've installed Homebrew, what you want to do is you want to open up terminal, command space, type in terminal, and it'll bring up your terminal window here. With Homebrew installed, the brew command is now available. So we're going to use brew here to install wine. So we're going to type brew install cask no quarantine, okay? And then wine stable. This is going to install the stable version of wine into your system. Now, I already have this installed, so when I hit enter, nothing's really going to happen. When you hit enter, it's going to take about probably 5-6 minutes for it to install. So you're going to hit enter, it'll do stuff, and then it'll be installed, and then it's going to take you back out to this command prompt. The next thing you want to do is we're going to use brew to install a software called Winetricks, okay? So brew install Winetricks, hit return. Again, mine is already installed. This will just take a few seconds for it to install on your end. So now that we have Winetricks installed, we want to use Winetricks to install a Visual C runtime. So we're going to type Winetricks VC Run 6 SP6, okay? And we're going to hit enter. I've already done this, so I'm not going to hit enter. Once that's installed, you're pretty much up and running for installing Emulator. Now we need to go ahead and install Emulator. If you go into Google, if you need to find the Emulator software, you can type in archive.org Emulator X3 and hit enter. You'll find an archive.org webpage that allow you to download activated versions of Emulator and the sound set. So now that I've downloaded X3, I'm going to go ahead and terminal into my downloads folder by just going down here, right click, open in terminal, and now I have a terminal window that's set into my downloads folder already. And I'm just going to type wine, all right? So I'm using wine to run this exe file, okay? This is the 64-bit version of Emulator X3 that can be found on archive.org. So we're going to type in winex3.exe, and I'm going to hit enter. And then it's eventually going to give you a window to install Emulator, which is great. I'm just doing the default settings here. I'm going to hit next. I'm going to keep this as default. I'm not going to install the VST2 because you're not going to be able to run this as a VST in your DAWs on your Mac. So I'm just not even checking it. Going to hit next, and then I'm going to hit install. And then it's going to install Emulator. I'm going to hit finish. So we're good to go. I'm back out at the command prompt. Now, I've installed Emulator. The next thing I want to do is I want to open up Emulator and run it. So the easiest way I find when you're running Wine and using PC programs, if you just type in at a command prompt here, so if you just type in wineexplorer.exe into a terminal prompt and hit enter, it's going to bring up a Windows Explorer GUI. And if I click on my computer here, I can see my C drive. So I'm going to go ahead and program files, E-MU, Emulator X3, and then I have this Emulator X open. And here we go. Emulator X3 right here running on the Mac. We're good to go. Now, when you open this, it may give you an error saying your audio system doesn't work or whatever. You can go into options, preferences, and just make sure your audio type is set to direct sound. Another setting you want to adjust here, if you go into other settings, your knob tracking, you want to make sure that it's vertical. It defaults to rotary, and having it set to rotary is going to want to make you pull your hair out. You'll never want to deal with it. It's terrible. So we're going to go over to MIDI settings here. And as you can see, this will pick up your MIDI inputs. I only have software MIDI bus on here, the IAC MIDI bus. The IAC MIDI bus is an internal MIDI bus that you can set up on Mac. That's just done via your audio MIDI setup right here. So I'm in my audio MIDI setup. I'm going to Window, Show MIDI Studio. And in here, I have my IAC driver. Just double click on that and make sure it's online, the device is activated, and you'll get a bunch of ports that pop up, or you can add some ports by hitting the plus button here. Each bus is a MIDI port, and each port would allow for 16 channels of MIDI. So I've got 64 channels of MIDI right here that I can use internally between apps, which means since I have it set up in Emulator, I can open up Renoise, and in Renoise, I can go into my MIDI device here, set it to bus 1. All right, so this is just going to be sending MIDI through IAC bus 1. And you can hear the E-MU sampler triggering. That's just a drum set. That's, I think, Becky Boise. That is on MoFat. That's all you really need to do. And so now I can use Renoise to sequence, or you can use any DAW to sequence 64 MIDI channels in this software sampler. And it's a super cool sampler. It has a lot of the E-MU filters. Yes, it does not sound like the hardware, but it still has really cool filters. Has some great effects on here that work really well. And you can resample this using Audio Hijack or any other kind of audio recording software. And it's super cool. Or you can sequence right in here and keep everything self-contained in the X3 and just use it as almost like another hardware sampler that you're sending MIDI to. So yeah, that's all there really is to it. See ya.